Okay, hello. This video is called How to Pick a Therapist That Doesn't Suck. All right. I know it can be a super frustrating experience. I've done it multiple times in my life. You got to pick the person, you got to see what they look like, you got to scroll through a bunch of jargon on their website, you got to know kind of what you're going through, but not really, because that's why you're asking for help. It's just frustrating. It could be expensive, waste of time potentially. It's just a lot. And I did some searching. There's only a couple videos out there, and they're okay. So I am going to make this one. Hopefully it's good, and hopefully you get something from it. But we're gonna go through things like how to know if it's a good fit. We're gonna go through some credentials. We're gonna go through what you can actually get from your therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, like what's the difference there. And especially we're gonna go through red flags so that you're not wasting your own time, wasting their time, or anything like that. So yeah, I guess we'll get started. My name's Tyrone the Philosopher. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm currently an intern psychologist. So yeah, check me out if you want to, and if not, check out the video. Here we go. Okay, so step one is to know what you're looking for. It's very basic, but a lot of times in therapy these days with modern therapists and the more modern modalities, the client is the expert on their own life, and that's the way we treat it, because there's no way for the therapist to know what's really best for you, okay? So that means if you need to do some reflecting to figure that out, whether you're in a little bit of a depressed mood, you've been feeling depressed, you've been staying at home, staying in your room, not doing anything, you don't want to go out, maybe it's anxiety, maybe you're feeling very worried, very scared about the future or what's going on in the world, or it's social anxiety. Maybe you just don't want to be around people to the point where you're having panic attacks. It can be a massive list of what's going on, but if you can list these things out and reflect and see what the problem is, it's going to give you a leg up when you're looking for the therapist themselves. And this can include things like relationships or family. Therapists are there to talk about anything that's throwing you off balance, all right? Anything that can cause problems in your life is something we're able to talk about with you. Some of us may be better at dealing with certain things, but that's up to you to know what's bothering you and what's ailing you so that we can help you the best, and you can kind of pick the right person to actually even look for in the first place. Okay, so now that you've done a little bit of a reflection on what's going on with you and what you need help with, before you start searching for a therapist, you kind of want to know what type of therapist you're looking for. There are so many different styles of therapy, and although Western psychology as a science has only been around for 100 and 150 years, it's quite young in that regard, there's still tons of different styles, all right? There's psychodynamic that looks at some of your past and how that affects your unconscious and makes you behave in a certain way. Humanistic is who you are as a person, and then that branches off into emotion focused and strength focused, and it's very centered on you finding your own answers. There's solution focused, which is let's find a solution to the problem in the short term. There is cognitive behavioral therapy, which takes a look at your thoughts and how that works and how to change them and how it affects your behavior. There's dialectical behavioral therapy, which is CBT, the cognitive behavioral, but it adds in an emotional aspect. There's existential and gestalt, which is experiential and how we experience the world and how that affects us. And there's so many more. So I can't list them all. I don't want this video to be too long, and I don't want to get into it too much, but just be aware that there are differences in how these people will treat. And so when you start searching and find somebody you might like, make sure you Google or look up what type of therapy they're doing so that you make sure you want to be a part of that and actually want to participate in it, because participation from you will make all the difference. Okay, so we've got some of the pre-work out of the way in terms of finding out what's bothering us, finding the reflection, and then kind of knowing what we're looking for in general. But next, now you can start searching, and you can search on Google, you can search on Psychology Today is really good. It can even be Instagram profiles and social media, because everybody is on there promoting themselves at this point as well. And once you've gotten to a therapist that you think you like the vibe, you just like the way they look, whatever that may be, we got to make sure we're looking at credentials and specializations, okay? Now, every therapist probably specializes in something. It's just kind of natural what they're drawn to, what they're interested in, what they want to treat. And beyond that, there are more general therapists as well that do a little bit of everything, okay? Now, if you're unsure as to what you're looking for, it is okay to kind of test the waters and go through some of these consult calls or even a session or two, and you might get some help from them. But in general, you kind of want to go a direction with somebody that you resonate with in terms of what you're looking for to deal with. Okay, so you've done the first couple steps of figuring out what you think is bothering you, as well as looking for some modalities into what you think resonates with how you see the world, right? And the next step is to actually start searching. And whether you're searching on Google, Psychology Today, or social media profiles, websites, wherever you're finding these, you want to make sure that the accreditation for these people and their credentials actually lines up with who they are. Now, very quickly, doctors this is for Alberta, doctors can prescribe mental health medication, anti-anxiety, antidepressive. Psychiatrists and psychologists often get confused, okay? In some provinces and in some countries, some states, they may need a doctorate to use the title of psychologist. In Alberta, that's not the case. Psychiatrists and psychologists are both mental health focused, but psychiatrists are able to prescribe medication as they have a medical degree, okay? Psychologists are based in talk therapy and that kind of thing. Both of them can do assessments, both of them can refer, both of them can diagnose, and below that you're looking at counselors or therapists or social workers, all right? Those people can't do a lot of the more official things in terms of diagnosis and assessment, but they are still able to help you from a mental health perspective in a very, very effective manner. Additionally, at this point, you kind of want to look at specializations. Now, specializations can be depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, basically any of the things you've probably been Googling and searching your symptoms for, or something that you've heard before and you've reflected and you think you might be experiencing some of that. So you can go that direction. A lot of therapists, psychologists, any mental health professional is able to generally address any problems from an overarching perspective. If they have a specialization, it will be a benefit. And if they have a specialization and it ends up not being what you're looking for, typically they should refer you to somebody that they know or somebody that they know of that can help you out. So you've had your first session and you are wondering what to do. And this we can call the fit factor. All right. And so it's like, how did you feel? Were you comfortable? Was there rapport? Did they talk over you? Did you not feel heard? Did you not feel validated? Was it just way too awkward? What happened? Now, there is going to be a little bit of awkwardness. This is a first date. It's somebody that you are getting to know at an emotional and spiritual level, all right? So that takes work, especially if it's not something we're used to doing, all right? But getting past that and looking at the outside stuff and taking a look at how we felt truly towards this person. Is it going to be a good fit for you? Is it somebody you want to talk to and want to open up with and want to get to know? This is work on both sides. They're putting in work for you and you have to put in work for yourself. And that work can be hard, especially if it's not something we've done before. So take a look, reflect. If it's not something you like, that's okay. You can always try again. And it may have felt like a waste of time. It may have felt very hard and it may take a lot of effort to get back up on that horse, but I believe in you and you can do it. Okay, so next let's talk about some red flags. Now, you've done your pre-work, you've done all the work you can, and it may have gone perfectly up to this point, and you may have gotten into your first session and something popped up, right? And there's some certain things you want to look out for. These are personal preferences on my part, so take them with a grain of salt and you got to figure out what's a red flag for you. But my number one is a judgmental attitude, all right? Now, I believe that everybody has a unique experience in life and everything we've experienced causes us to be who we are today, and there's no reason to judge that, no matter what it is. Some people make bad decisions based on how they were raised or whatever it may be, and nobody deserves judgment for that, all right? My second one is no clear treatment plan. Personally, I like to give a little tangible, something they can work on in the first or second session, something they can take home and start to work on themselves. And I like to lay out where I'm gonna go in the future. And of course, this can just help guide the process, but it is nice to have at least something to go off of so that we aren't just talking and with no real end in sight. Now, my last one is a lack of boundaries. So while therapy does require a certain level of openness, there is a pace that can be set, all right? If you're not comfortable with sharing something, you don't have to share it yet. You can get to that point. Some of these things are deep-seated issues that take a lot of trust and a lot of emotional awareness to actually get to and want to open up and trust this person that you're trusting this information with. And if they don't respect those boundaries, then that's going to be an issue. If they're pulling information out of you when you're not ready to give it, it's not going to end up well. Okay, and last, how do you even know if it's working? Now, this is a very open-ended question, because how do we know that we're healing? How do we know that we're changing on the inside? I like to do two things: tangible action, something you can work on at home, and something that is making gradual changes on the underlying behavior. Now, other people may have different styles. You may be looking for something different, but here's three things that you can kind of latch onto and look for. Are you seeing changes in your behavior? Are you seeing day-to-day changes in the way you're feeling and what you're doing and how you're reacting to things? Are you feeling understood? Do you feel like this person understands your unique experience and it makes it real? Because it is real. Your feelings are based on what you're experiencing and how your body is reacting. Now, how you react to those feelings might be different, and maybe we're looking to change those behaviors, but that doesn't change the fact that those feelings are very, very real. And last, are you gaining new insights? Are you looking at the world from a different perspective? Are you looking at that anger in a new light? Maybe you're experiencing sadness in a different way. You're seeing the threat of something in a different way, and you're able to act differently because of it. These are small things you can look for to recognize if your therapy is actually working or not. Okay, so that's it for this video. I know we went through a lot of information. Hopefully it wasn't too much. I could have gone through a lot more, but I also didn't want it to be too long. I think that's enough surface level knowledge to at least help somebody pick a therapist that doesn't suck or have a better chance of doing that. And so yeah, if you got something out of it, or maybe you have a very bad story about picking a therapist, I'd love to hear your thoughts or your story in the comments. I will absolutely reply to it, and hopefully somebody can read it, and then that will give a little bit of extra knowledge to the video, essentially. So yeah, like, share, subscribe. That's the only way this information gets out to people to help them in the future. And I will also be sharing lots of like mental health tips and insights and other fun things, eventually talk about current events and like a psychological perspective to that. So yeah, please, I hope you hang out, I hope you hang around, and we will see you soon.